Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back. We are here with somebody I actually don't really know personally very well, but I will introduce our guest today. For those of you who are Bismarck High School grads, I am a graduate of Bismarck High from 2012, the class of 2012. I also had Miss Tara Brenden as a math teacher at BHS. So our special guest today is her son, Brenden, who recently competed in the Junior Olympics. I'm sure he can give us more of a title on the events and where he did get to compete this past month, but he was part of the United States Junior Olympic curling team. I cannot say I know a whole lot about curling. I've seen it on TV. I think I've tried it one time and it did not go very well, but I obviously would have to give that more of a try and probably more effort next time I do it. So, Zach, let's talk some curling. Let's talk just your overall experience. What you got to experience is especially at a young age that you are at is pretty cool for many reasons that you probably maybe even experienced or know already, but down the road hopefully you'll just continue to see how much that experience helps you just in the long run. So yeah, do you want to just kind of talk about your just journey in general? I have a lot of great questions for you to hopefully promote some discussion, but you want to talk about, I know I wrote down how long have you been curling and what got you into curling. Obviously it's not a very big crowd. I know there's a curling club in Bismarck, but I don't know what the population there is. So how long have you been curling and when did you start to curl? What got you into this?
So I've been curling for 7 years now, and my friend got me into the sport of curling. He saw it in the newspaper ad and started curling. Then one year he asked me to come for a practice and try it out. Right away I was hesitant and said no, but they drugged me in a year later and just kept going since.
It's awesome. So how many people, obviously you're not at the curling club all the time because you are on a team and you guys have organized practices, but would you say that the curling crowd, the curling population in Bismarck has risen at all? I know during COVID, I was trying to get out there just to get out of the house and do it. And I don't know if that helped the numbers over the last couple of years, but have you seen like a difference in the crowd that is interested in curling in the last couple of years or since you've been doing it?
Yeah, I'd say it's been a pretty steady flow. COVID kind of knocked it down a little bit, but we're starting to rise up again and starting to get some younger kids joined. So I think it is gaining a little bit of like popularity, but it's still a little on the low side of things. But
yeah. So I do follow your mom on social media and see that you guys are in tournaments. You guys are all over the Midwest in the winter, at all these different tournaments. Obviously, you guys had to qualify for the event and for the Olympics that you did end up going to. So what steps did your team have to take just in the curling tournaments, or what was this qualification process like for you guys?
So it was, you got to have 2 girls and 2 guys, which is unusual because normally it's just a boys or girls team. So we formed that team and the trials were in Denver. It was just, you got to sign up and play down for the trials, and there were 23 teams competing in it. And once we won, we had to beat all the teams and win it to get to go to South Korea, and we ended up winning and got to go. So leading the months up to Korea, we had some practices as a team and met in the middle in Minnesota, and we took off for South Korea.
So was it difficult, like being on a team with this person and then having to like join up just kind of at a random-ish time? Was it difficult to form like team culture, team camaraderie, or did you guys click pretty quickly?
We clicked pretty well. We had really good chemistry as a team. It was like we were like had that brother sister relationship out there, and there were never fights. We just always got along, and it helped us be a better team in the end.
That's awesome. It's good that you guys, especially again at a pretty young age, were able to do that. And before we jumped on video, I kind of told you that I've had a few personal experience in the sports world with helping my mindset and like teaching me a lot of things that year by year I become more thankful and more grateful that I got those experiences. But I also know I told you that none of what I've experienced can compare to competing in the Olympics in South Korea. So take it as a grain of salt. But when I was 18, I was able to play in the Senior Babe Ruth World Series down in Texas. Um, when we got down there, we realized that we were confused as to why we had two 18-year-olds and the rest of them were 16, and they ended up actually winning state Legion tournament a couple of years later because that team was loaded with talent. But I do say this because when we went down, everyone was 19, and we were confused, like what's going on here. But we also didn't realize that a lot of cities and states around the country don't have Legion baseball. So we were basically playing in a national Legion baseball tournament against a bunch of guys who are older than us. And why I mention this is it's important to have a mindset going in, especially when you know the competition's going to be like off the charts and incredible, but you don't really know how to compete at that level. So you kind of learn as you go, and I'm sure you guys learn that as you went with playing against literally teams from across the world who have been doing this just as long as you guys have. You're not in North Dakota anymore. You're not in the Midwest anymore. But what was kind of your guys' mindset going in? Did you guys have specific goals? Did you say we need to make the quarterfinals? We need to make podium? What do you guys have any goals that this is where we want to get to, or what was that like?
Yeah. So once we won the trials and knew we were going to Korea, we sat down with our coach and we made like a goals list for what we wanted to accomplish in Korea. We obviously wanted to win the tournament, but we had to set reasonable goals. So our first goal was just to have fun. If we don't have fun, we're not going to enjoy the experience, and it'd just be a waste of our time. But going deeper into that, our first goal after just having fun was we want to make the playoffs. We want to make a good showing, and once we make the playoffs, anything can happen. Like we could have we could have medaled, and so you just got to make it there. So going in as a team, it was like, let's enjoy this experience, but also let's have some fun and compete well against these other countries.
That's awesome. I love it. And it's important to have those, but I know some people are kind of like, let's just go enjoy the experience. Some people are, we need to do something here. We just don't know how possible that is or how realistic that is. But I'm going to hit the pause button quick on just the Olympics discussion. I should have done this in the introduction. Can you tell us how old you are and what year in high school you are in, to help anybody viewing or listening that's not aware of who you guys are or who you guys what you guys are doing in general?
I'm 17. I am a senior at Legacy High School this year, and yeah.
So you're nearing the finish line here pretty soon, huh?
Yeah. Not quite sure what I'm gonna go into for college quite yet, but I'm trying to make it so I can curl when I'm older and still have a good paying job. So gotta figure out.
I don't know if this statement helps, but you're 17. You got plenty of time to think about that. So, all right. So you guys again qualify. You guys have a few weeks to get ready for actually going over there. What was the journey like over there? What were the hours to get over there? I know before we jumped on, I asked about adjusting back to real life, and you said the time change has just been a struggle, which I completely understand. You probably didn't even know what day it was half the time, but
yeah. So it's a 15-hour time change. They're 15 hours ahead of us. We had a 14-hour plane ride from Minneapolis to Seoul, Korea, which is the capital. And kind of to adjust to the time zone on the way there, so that because we only had a few days before competition, so we wanted to be as fully ready as possible. So actually, the night before our plane ride, we stayed up all night, and right as we boarded the plane, we tried to sleep for a little bit because when we got on the plane, it was nighttime there. So we tried to line up the hour. Didn't really sleep well on the plane because I was in the middle seat, and it's just hard to sleep in a plane. And we were excited to get there. But yeah, once we got to Korea and got into our village place where we stayed with dorms, we hit the hay and we were able to sleep and pretty much adjust within the first couple of days. We were pretty good. Just, I noticed like even after the 2 weeks I was there, you feel your body's good, but you also get tired a lot quicker. Like my legs would get faster than if I was just in North Dakota or somewhere in the States, because it's hard to adjust a 15-hour time difference in just 2 weeks.
Yeah, I know. I was fortunate enough in college to go down to South America, down in Peru, and I remember them telling. And again, you hear them, you comprehend the information, but it doesn't really click until you start feeling it. I
Yeah.
know they said even when you're not hungry, like lay down, even when you're not tired, just when you're not out and about, like take it easy. I know I would take a leave every morning, whether I felt great or whether I didn't feel great. And I don't think I ever felt sick. I know we flew into another place way higher in elevation where I got a headache, but that was just normal. So is there anything that you, again, like I said, when you hear all these tips and tricks and advice from people who have been there, who have done that,
Yeah.
was there anything you experienced? They're like, oh my gosh, they talked about this and I didn't really take it in and comprehend the information, because you don't think it can happen to you until it hits you.
Yeah. I'd say the biggest thing was just, I mean, like you said, eat when you're not hungry. I didn't really do a great job of that. Like, I just didn't feel hungry on the plane, and granted, they didn't have the best food, so I didn't eat, and so that caused me to be a little more, I don't know, tired once I got there. But for the most part, I was pretty comfortable, I feel like, because we had the luxury of staying in the Olympic Village area. So they had everything provided for us. We didn't have to worry about anything. So on my side of things, I felt pretty good. And like, also they say eat food that you're familiar with. I was a little, because I'm more of a picky eater, I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah.
But they had it was like a buffet style cafeteria area. So I was pretty good on that part.
So they provide you with a lot of like American food, or was there a good mixture? I know you just said you're a picky eater, but were you able to let yourself venture out a little bit to taste some of the local stuff, or were you a little timid and hesitant on that one?
Yeah, I was a little timid. I didn't try much, but they had a lot of fish. They had the good amount of American food, but then they also had some stuff that I've never seen before, and I was like, yeah, I don't know if this looks appealing, so I just stayed away.
You don't want to compete on something you're not really sure of.
Yep. I will say
All right.
bread, main go-to meal. Toast.
What's that?
Toast I ate the most when I was there.
Oh yeah, there you go. So as you competed against all of these teams from all over the world, what were some of your guys' takeaways through the matchups that you were part in? I know when I was watching your mom's updates on Facebook each day, and you guys were cruising by some countries. I'm sure there's some countries that are very talented, and there's some countries that you're like, how in the world are these guys here? But again, that the talent difference, you can't get too high on yourself, and you can't get like too hesitant and intimidated by yourself. So what were kind of your takeaways as you guys started actually competing against all these countries from around the world?
Yeah, so going into our first game was against Norway. We knew that was going to be tough because they previously 4 years ago won the Youth Olympic Games for curling, and so we knew it was going to be tough. But we knew that we could compete with these teams and keep it close. So like what we got from competing against these teams was like we did really well, and we can be on that stage of competition. Like we had to play Japan. We were battling the whole game, down 1 point in the last end, and ended up getting our 2 points and won against them. So you're scared by the competition of like, because you don't know who they are, and that like they've been doing this forever. Because I know some countries for curling have like it's like a curling school. They go to school for half the day and then they curl for half the rest of the day.
Crazy.
So it's way different from what we do, because we just have it like on a club level, and then you spend your own time to get better at the game. But they get like so much more time for it than we do. But just being able to do as well as we did lets you know that we have a shot to do great things.
That's awesome. That's really cool to hear, and that's crazy that their day is wound up like that. I know when you watch like international basketball or baseball tournaments, there's countries that, oh, we go to school and then we go to baseball practice, like all of us do. We're required to. So curling, I can't imagine bringing up to the school board in Bismarck that we're going to have these guys go to school for a little bit and then they're going to go to curling practice all day. Does that sound good?
Yeah.
It's a little different lifestyle than we're used to. So as you're going through these countries, and again, not that these countries are going to be listening to this podcast, and not that you need to throw any of them under the bus by any means, but were there any countries that you guys played? And I know you talked about some of these countries you knew were going to be talented because you just did your homework and you guys obviously pay attention to the international level. But were there some countries that were really talented? Were there countries that were just kind of a walk in the park for you guys to get by? Again, this, as I already mentioned, these international tournaments, you get around these countries that are loaded and these countries that kind of surprise you how not as talented they are, I guess you could say. But what can you say from the talent level that you guys competed against?
Yeah, so I'd say the most talented teams that we knew were going to be there were like Great Britain. They're always good. Japan, China, and Sweden, and we had to play 3 of those teams actually. So we were a little nervous, but yeah, they were really talented. And then there was a couple teams like Nigeria was there. They made their Olympic debut actually in the Youth Olympic Games, and they don't have as the opportunity to have the curling ice down there. So we knew that was going to be a bit easier, but we still had to make sure that we played our games so that we could get the win.
That's what I was hoping I'd hear from you, because that's the whole, oh, this should be an easy one, and then it ends up biting you in the butt or something surprises you. And so it's really good that you guys had the mindset of we just need to keep doing our thing and don't worry about how good or not so great these guys are. So assuming that you had some time to interact with these other teams, and I know you said you got to stay in the Olympic Village and got exposed to all sorts of things, and I'm sure you are around a lot of people from other countries. I know there's probably a language barrier that obviously there's technology nowadays that help a lot with that. What were some of your experiences or takeaways from just being immersed in all these different people? And I mean, you're obviously a white teenager and you probably were part of the minority while you were over there. So any thoughts and takeaways from that?
Yeah, so majority of the countries, even though they speak their native language, they spoke pretty decent English because they're almost required to in almost every school they go to. I think is how it works. So language barrier wasn't too bad for us in the village part of things, but when we got outside and went with our families to do a few things, we used a lot of Google Translate. It was a savior. But being in the village with all the other athletes it was a really cool experience because, I mean, who knows if you're ever going to see those people again. So being able to just talk to them for even, say, 5 minutes was just cool to know their name and know what sport they play and like where they're from that was pretty sweet.
So were you able to, like, I know you guys connected with a lot of other athletes from different countries, but were you able to like follow on social media or friend them on so you're able to keep up with them even after you guys headed out?
Yep, I added a few people on Instagram so we can keep up a little bit. But I also did a jersey swap with
sweet
one of the Japan players. So we swapped jerseys at the end and took a picture. So that was pretty cool.
That's pretty cool. I never would have thought of that, but that's awesome. So after competing against literally the best in the world, what will you keep with you, and what will you and your team just in general keep with you as you come back to competition that you're more used to? Again, I know I already mentioned that I appreciate your mindset that even going into this, we're going to play some tough competition, but we just need to do our thing and whatever happens, happens. So as you guys who obviously were just competing in the Olympic Games come back to play everyday North Dakota and everyday Midwest teams, what's kind of your guys' mindset as you come back to competition that you're more so used to?
Yeah, so our mindset is, I'd say the same, except for the fact that we know we can compete, but we just got to prove it. So we want to go in thinking that we can win, but we also want to go in thinking that it's not going to be easy, and we got to stick to what we do in order to get the win and compete on the world level again. So I know, like, for me, it's just take it day by day, do what I normally do to get better at the sport, and good things will happen. God has a plan for us, and hopefully it works out in the end.
It's awesome. I love it. So from a cultural standpoint, when you guys go over to South Korea, and I know you mentioned you can tend to be a picky eater, which a lot of people, especially when you're exposed to a bunch of stuff you don't even know, you might have heard of it. But again, you guys are competing and you're like, I don't want my body to be upset when I'm trying to compete in the Olympic Games. So I'm going to take her easy and just be comfortable here. Were there any foods that you tried over there that you might have enjoyed or surprised by, or were there foods that you're like, I don't know how you guys eat this on a daily basis?
Yeah, so I didn't try anything, but when I was with my parents and one of my teammates' family, we were at this restaurant and there was, I think it was squid or octopus, I can't remember which one, but it was fried squid and they tried it and I was like, ooh, it was slimy. Like, I don't think I could eat that. Like, my teammate tried it and he's like, tastes is really good, but it's a 5 out of 10 because it's too slimy. So
Texture, yeah. The
yeah,
texture will get you. So what
yeah,
kind of things over there, like lifestyle? And I know you guys were again in the Olympic Village, so you guys were only able to step out in kind of the public area, just the real world of Japan so many times and for so much time. Was there anything that surprised you or anything like you obviously have your own ideas and thoughts of what this place is going to look like, sound like, and feel like, but was there anything you were surprised by over there? Was there anything that just made sense or was there anything you were intimidated by, like this? I'm going to be in a whole different country, people that don't speak my language, food that's not familiar to me, anything like that.
yeah. I was definitely nervous going into to Korea. I was a little nervous because I mean, obviously we're going to South Korea, but we were 20 miles away from the north border at one
Oh yeah,
point, so a little nerve wracking. But by that point, we've been there for a few weeks, so there was nothing too worried to be about. Um, but we did see planes flying over every single day, um, like F-16s. So we knew it's a real world out there. Anything can happen. But also, like, the Koreans were just super nice. They cheered for us every single time. All the workers and people working super friendly, and they made the experience even better because they helped us in many ways.
that's great to hear. So as Americans, I just kind of thought about this. I know you said they're Japanese, but they're cheering for you. As Americans, obviously from likely the most powerful country, like popular country, a lot of people from around the world flock to America for all sorts of the American dream and opportunities. As Americans, were you viewed differently? Were you viewed as like the more popular, the celebrities of the group, or did it really not matter who was walking around and that you guys had the American flag on you?
Yeah, so I don't know if we got viewed differently necessarily, but everyone tended to walk up to us and um like want a lot of pictures. Like, we took a lot of pictures with the volunteers. They always wanted a picture with us for a game. And um yeah, I don't know. Mom, you're in here, so you could talk a little bit about it. I could.
Welcome.
Welcome. I feel like we were very much treated exceptionally well. They loved us. Um, they were really good to us. They always tried to do whatever they can to help us. Um, it was awesome to see. They'd always come up to the kids after the games and they'd always want selfies. Like one time, it was right after the China game and the kids lost. And our kids always came up to the stand. So we would wait for them. And, and they were coming in and their heads were kind of hanging a little low. You know, they just lost a game and all the volunteers, all the girls were coming up to Zach, handing him the phone and like selfie, picture. And then one did it. It was like one girl did it, and like 6 girls followed.
Yep.
And so they didn't really have time to feel depressed because they were kind of treated like celebrities at that point. So it was really nice. We made a lot of Korean friends over there.
Cool.
They were always coming over to our section, finding us and cheering for our kids. And we, not too far from the hotel, there was this little shop called the Paris Baguette. And every time we went in there, they would give Ashley, our 10-year-old, something free, a free hot chocolate, a free boba, a free, but they didn't want anything in return. They didn't want tips or anything. And then, when Zach got done, we had one extra day. So we went back and we got a picture
Cool.
with him. He now friended us on Facebook and talks to us and
Cool.
messages us back and forth. And so you're really treated like family.
That's awesome. So Zach,
Yeah.
from this celebrity role, was it cool? Did you embrace it, or was it a little overwhelming at times?
It was really cool. I tried to do my best to embrace it because never know if I get to have an opportunity like that again. So I just took it in and had fun with it.
Awesome. Is your mom still standing off to the side?
Yes.
I was just curious, as a parent slash fan. I know my parents, when they came to my baseball games, they sometimes, I'd notice they're sitting in complete opposite places because they can't listen to each other when my brother and I would perform. So as a parent or a fan, were you nervous? Were you anxious? Were you just kind of like, we're here and we're gonna do our thing, whatever happens, happens?
I think at first, the first game it was very emotional. All the moms were we weren't like sobbing or anything, but we walked in, and
It's a lot to take in.
It's a lot to take in. It is a huge stage. It is a huge venue, and you just know that it's so meaningful.
Mm-hmm.
And so we were all embracing and kind of like getting through our emotions. And then they won that game. And then it was like, oh, this is real.
Yep.
And then we kind of calmed down, and then the next game came and they won, and then the next game they came and they won. And the more they started winning, the more nervous and stressful it became for all the parents. But we all kind of just tried to come together and be together and try to keep everybody positive and talk about all the good things the kids are doing, even if they were to lose the next game. And so we became a family. I mean, we kind of became a family really when they were competing in Denver, because we all stayed in the same Airbnb. And so really kind of started our family friendship there. But then in Korea, it just grew. So
that's awesome, especially that far from home. That's kind of needed, and you would probably realize how much that was needed. I really like what you said, and like nobody was not like trash talking, but like we need to win tomorrow or else things are going downhill. So it's good to hear that everyone was on the same page with what your expectations were. And I was curious if there's always that one parent who is freaking out because we need to win this next one or else everyone's gonna be angry. And but it's good to hear that everyone was kind of on the same page with just, I bet, being down to earth and just enjoying the moment.
Yeah, we were. And we all stayed in the same hotel. We had different cars because we couldn't obviously all fit, but there were 11 of us that were there supporting the 4 kids. And there were days we did things together, and then there were days that we went our separate ways, but we always came back together at night and played cards and talked about the day. And we always did a walkout in the morning. We tried to do a walkout in the morning with all our USA gear, and everybody had different USA gear. We had people with overall USA gear on, and we had glitter on our faces and bandanas, and it was really awesome representing the United States. I have a different I have a different take now that I come back. I mean, I've always been proud to be an American, but when I went over there and was wearing the flag, I was like, why don't I do that when I'm here in America? And we just need to do that more. Like, this is really awesome. And we have things to be very thankful for and be very proud to be where we come from. So that's changed my perspective. So
I asked Zach, and obviously he was the athlete and you are the the parent, the fan, so you're in a different crowd most of the time. But as an American who obviously wore the American flag all over the place, were you guys viewed or treated differently from the public? I know he talked about they were in the athletes village and you guys were more so in public, but did anybody like treat the Americans differently or view you differently, or did you just go about your day?
We just went about our day, and I think the way we were treated was better than I would have first expected, because when they saw us in our USA, they'd be USA, America, hi, good day.
The only English words they know.
Yeah. They all wanted to talk to us and, try to use their English. And, but my 10-year-old and I spent a little bit of time trying to get the word thank you down in Korean, and it's 감사합니다. And so at first we were saying it wrong, and they kind of corrected us. And then every time we went somewhere and left, we would say 감사합니다, and they would repeat it. And then they would also say, thank you, have a good day. So they were wonderful. It was an amazing experience. There was Christmas trees all over the place too. And they were still up in the middle of January, but we asked somebody and they said it's, they keep them up through January for other countries that come into South Korea as a sign of peace.
Okay.
So they really want peace with all.
Yeah.
And peace for all.
It's a good message. I was going to say mine doesn't come down till later because I'm too lazy to take it down, but not really a sign of peace. It's more so them telling me my Christmas tree's still up. So.
Yeah, April last year.
Something like that. I don't like to talk about it.
Yeah.
So again, as a teacher, a coach, and a parent, obviously you and I'm also now a parent. I have a 2-year-old in March, for goodness sake. It's, that time flies by, and I'm sure you can relate to that statement. But just you being kind of a witness to everything that he got to experience. I know you and your daughter got to experience so much with the fans that went. Was there anything as a mom, and I asked this question because as I've gotten older and become a teacher, a parent, a husband, my mom slowly points things out to me in like moments that I remember them, but I don't like recall them being that meaningful. But as a parent, they're meaningful. So obviously Zach was on an Olympic stage, like an international Olympic stage, which is wild at the age of 17. So as a teacher, a coach, and a parent, was there any moments that you just kind of witnessed that just put a smile on your face because you realize as a parent that this he's like embracing this, he's taking this all in? Because as a 17-year-old, sometimes you experience it, but it takes a couple months or a couple of years to go, holy cow, that was cool. Like I really got to do that, and not very many people got to do that.
Yeah, well, his coach, Dave Jensen, was amazing. And it was almost like he knew what the kids needed, but I could see that the kids were embracing it and really enjoying it. When they were playing golf, they had this golf ball before every match, and they were using their brooms, and then they had to putt into somewhere, and you could just see the kids were relaxed and really enjoying it. Sometimes at the beginning when they were practicing, they were all dancing, and then the coach got in on the dancing, and I could just see that every single one of them was in the moment, trying to make it fun and not too stressful, and enjoy it, because it can be overwhelming. And then every time Zach went down the ice, I could just see his face. Like sometimes I wondered if he thought, wow, I'm really doing this. And then I thought, well, no, he has to focus on his shot. So he's probably not going, oh, really, I'm doing this. But I could just see it. And when the teams would line up and they would introduce the United States, and all the kids would wave, and it was awesome. And a lot of times, well, all the time when we're at curling tournaments or curling spiels, you're on the other side of the glass.
Yep.
So they can't see, they can kind of see us, but they can't hear us. And so this was, wow. They'd look up to us and be like, come on, come on, give us some, hype us up. And we could tell that that was really something that helped them get through it too, is that we were there screaming and supporting and chanting, and so yeah, it was phenomenal. But I mean, I really have to say that his coach he's one of the best, and he really got him through it. So as a parent, I was really thankful that they had somebody on the other side, because I couldn't be there all the time.
Yeah.
And as a parent, usually I'm always there, but I couldn't be because they were in the Olympic Village. And so just knowing that they had Dave, and Dave was so awesome with them, that kind of put me at ease and allowed me to enjoy the experience a little bit more too.
Yeah. That's huge. That's so cool that, again, you get to experience this at age 17, and you get to take this with you forever. And I know him and I talked that I've had a couple experiences, not being in the Olympics at all, but having these experiences young, and then again, you just take it on, and it's not even just a curling experience. It's like helps you in so many different ways. And again, at the age of 17, it's pretty cool to take that with you for a very long time. So I will mention that I saw something, Tara, on your Facebook. I think it was the first day you were there. One of the things that you had it on a plate, and you're like, I'm not sure what this is, and I don't really want to find out what it is, so I'm going to leave it there. So
you don't want
I know
to know?
you had plenty of things on the menu that you were not pleased by. So was there any foods that you're like, nope, not happening?
Yeah, that was octopus.
Oh, it was octopus. Okay.
Yeah, and a couple of the other parents, and there was another sibling there. They tried that out. No. They had such good food, but we're not used to it.
Yeah.
And I'm sure it tasted fantastic, because everything I did eat, which was mostly steak, tenderloin, hamburger, chicken, is just so flavorful.
Yeah.
When they
I
serve
just
you,
know there's people from all across the world that come, and I don't know a ton of them, but when they come here, they're like, you guys think your food's good. You don't even know what good food tastes like.
No, even their bread is, I have a gluten issue, and I can't eat it, but over there it's mostly rice, so it wasn't an issue at all. They really value their food over there, and they make sure that it's good quality. And when you order a chicken, you get a whole chicken.
Yeah.
And it's cut up differently than we cut it up. And
Yeah, I'm sure. Which again, appearance wise, throws your brain off.
yeah, but yeah, it was when we found the food we liked, it was amazing. And if we had more time there, I would probably try a few more things. But we did a Korean barbecue where we got to fry our own.
Yeah.
And that was amazing.
Oh, I'm sure. I don't think I'd ever go back to American barbecue if I had that.
No, I don't. It's hard. It's really good, and you cook it right there at your own little table, and so you get to eat, cook it the way you want it.
Yeah.
Everybody's like, well, you got to cook your own food. I mean, really? Why would you want to do that? You're paying to cook your own food? Yeah, but it's good.
Oh, I'm sure. Yeah, I know when I went to Peru with my leadership group through University of Mary when I was still in college, I had a classmate of mine and a few restaurants we went to. I'm like, I'm not going to eat anything if I know what's coming. Like, there's a few things I want to try, but I can't get my brain to order it. So there's a few of us that said, here's the 3 options, pick one, but don't tell me what it is. And I had alpaca twice, and it tastes like chicken both times. So.
Yeah, see?
And I know Zach talked about the octopus. I'm like, the texture, I couldn't get out of my head. There's no way. Yep. I might be able to eat it, and it might not taste bad, but the texture and knowing what it is would drive me crazy.
Well, and everything's with chopsticks.
Yeah.
Don't really give you silverware, so you're using chopsticks, and first of all, none of us knew how to use chopsticks. And second of all, the octopus legs were like flimsy and falling. That made it even tougher.
Eek. So I should have started with this question in the beginning with Zach, but I know we've talked about Olympic Games, and those who can't see this because they're just going to be listening to it, on your sweatshirt, it says Youth Olympic Games. Can you kind of talk about the age group that you guys were up against for anybody going, that wasn't the Olympics. The Olympics are at this time of year. So can you kind of talk about the specific age group that was involved in your guys's competition?
Yeah. So, so it was ages, I think 13 to 17 or maybe 14, but you had to fall in the certain, like 2006 was the oldest you could be, and then it went to 2009, I want to say. So you had to fall in that age group and compete to qualify, and once you did, you were competing against 13 to 17-year-olds. So although it wasn't against like adults, it's the up and coming stars of their sports.
So you guys hoping to go back in a few years in a different age category?
That's the goal. It's gonna
Awesome.
take a lot of work, but that's the end goal.
Look forward to following it. So when you guys got back, again, the time change can kick your butt. I know you said 15-hour time change, and plus you're coming back, so you're losing all of that time, I would predict, which can be brutal, especially for a high school student. I know I talked to Tara last weekend that she's like, well, he has 9 days of homework to catch up on, so we'll keep you posted. But I asked this question, and again, my own experience going to Peru, when we returned, they talked to us about adjusting back to American things. And I tell people this story all the time who travel out of the country and ask me about it. I remember sitting in the airport in Atlanta coming home, and I said, there's nothing more I want right now than a McDonald's cheeseburger. It sounds amazing. And the second I got back to Bismarck, 0 things in Bismarck food-wise sounded good for like a week. And I didn't lose weight, but it's something that just messes, like you're not starving, but nothing sounds good. So when you guys got back, and again, huge culture difference over there with all different sorts of different foods. Was there anything that, like, the adjustment other than just back to daily life? Like, did the processed foods theory get you? Was there anything that you struggled, or maybe you're still struggling getting back to just regular things here?
So I think my biggest thing was I was more hungry when I came back than when I was there. Like, I'd wake up at 4 a.m. and I was just, my stomach was hurting because I was like, it was weird. So like those first few days, I woke up at 3 a.m, whatever, couldn't fall back asleep, laid in my bed right away in the morning at 6, got up and ate a bowl of cereal. And I was actually on time for my class, the best I've ever been that first week. Even though I was a little surprised. But when I got back in the airport in Minneapolis, my first meal was a burger. I was craving one of those. So I didn't actually have too much trouble eating the foods, but just I ate a lot more food when I got back, just because of, I don't know, it was weird. Wasn't ready for that.
Well, the fruits and vegetables there are amazing. The strawberries are sweet. You know, you don't get any tartness. Everything's sweet. It's so fresh and so good. Coming back for me, I had a hard time going to the grocery store and grabbing fruit because it's not the same. It's gonna taste the same, and it didn't. So that's been my struggle, is like, oh, I wish we had that availability. And then all the breads over there, I could manage and eat, and I can't eat the breads here. So, and they were good. I mean, even though they were rice and a little bit of wheat, they were just tasted better. Everything was fresh. Yep. No preservatives. So
it's a crazy feeling that people talk about, and it doesn't hit your head until you're going, holy cow, this is a real thing. It's a real thing going on. I don't know if it's processed. My mom kept telling me it's just the processed foods thing, but like I said, I was never like, I'm like, not like I'm starving, but I can't find it. Just like nothing sounded good. Like I would eat something, but it wouldn't be much. So Is there anything else from you guys? I know, again, we have two different perspectives, and that's why I really enjoyed having both of you on here as athlete and parent/fan. But is there anything else you guys would love to share with listeners, viewers, about just your experience in general?
I think just the biggest thing I've took away from the trip over the being home for the past 2 weeks is it goes by quick. So, I mean, it may feel like long days over there and might suck a few days while you're there because you're just trying to adjust, but just enjoy every moment and don't take it for granted because you don't know if you'll be able to do something like that ever again.
Yeah, it was just an amazing experience, and it was here and gone in a blink of an eye. And the build up to it was like, oh my gosh, we got this, we have this many days left, and we got there. And I feel like we did take in everything we could have, but at the same time, it just went way too fast. Yeah. And wish we could have been there a little longer, but it was fantastic, and the kids did fantastic. We couldn't be more proud as parents. I know going to the Olympics, what's your ultimate goal? Well, is to bring home a medal. But sometimes I think that bringing home the medal becomes the most important thing in a lot of people's eyes. But you don't have to bring home a medal to represent your country and be proud of our country and be proud to have the flag on your back and still be amazing, even though you don't have the hardware to prove it.
Awesome. I love it, and I'm so appreciative and grateful that that's what you guys were able to take from all of that. A great experience for so many people involved, and I appreciate both of you jumping on and sharing your story, and hope you guys have a great rest of your weekend, and I'll be following your story. I don't know how many curling events I'll be attending, but maybe I'll have to stop by for one. So
yeah. Sounds good. Thank you, Kyler.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks for joining me. Have a good one.
You too. Bye-bye.